The craziest trade deadline in NBA history has officially come to an end. I'm sitting here recording this roughly a half an hour right after this crazy deadline has ended. We have seen all the 21 plus trades, I believe, that have officially gone down during this past week. And man, oh man, this is one for the ages. This is the reason why we all love the NBA. So in today's video, what I really want to do is kind of break down some of these real big trades that kind of happen. We're also going to go over some of the biggest winners, some of the biggest losers at the deadline, then maybe talk about the buyout market a little bit towards the end of this video. Now hang with me a little bit. If I sound like ass, I know I'm sick. I know I also haven't made a video in forever, so if I'm a little rusty, hang with me. But I think there's no better place to start than the biggest deal that actually happened at this deadline, and possibly the biggest deal that's happened at any deadline. Kevin Durant is officially a Phoenix Sun. Now, I don't think anybody really saw this coming. I think we all knew the writing was on the wall for Kyrie Irving as soon as he requested that trade, especially with him being a free agent this offseason. But KD is not a free agent this offseason. He's got years left. But the Nets went ahead. They made the decision. They shipped him out to Phoenix. I'm sure you all know what the trade package was, but I'll read it for you again. The Suns have acquired Kevin Durant and TJ Warren from the Nets in a monster deal for Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 first-round picks, and a first-round pick swap. Those 4 unprotected firsts are in 2023, 2025, 2027, and at 2029. So when I sit back, and my gut reaction to this trade is that it's a W for the Phoenix Suns, because anytime that you're getting Kevin Durant, top 5, 6, 7, whatever you want to label him, player on this earth, you always feel like immediately that you have the W in this trade. And you also really didn't give up a star. I like Mikal Bridges a lot. He's not a star. Now let's talk about this Suns team a little bit. Devin Booker actually returned last night. He played 26 minutes. I believe he had 19 points. Obviously good to get him back after, I believe, missing a month and a half. Obviously Chris Paul is still on this team. Has obviously not been Chris Paul's greatest season by any means. He's old as shit. We all know that. But he's still Chris Paul at the end of the day. And you were able to keep DeAndre Ayton as well. So that's kind of your new big four, if you will. The bench is, it's a little iffy. Hopefully you can get somebody on the buyout market. But for me right now, this is probably the best starting 5 on paper in the NBA, whether you're plugging in TJ Warren or Damian Lee, whoever the hell you want to plug in, whoever it may be. This is a really impressive team right now that currently sits at 30-26. I would not be surprised to see this team maybe jump all the way up to a 2 seed by the end of this season. Now I want to jump to the Nets side of this a little bit. Now, I think we all kind of know that if the Nets probably waited till this offseason to trade KD, maybe they could have gotten a better offer somewhere. What that would have been, I have absolutely no idea. But the reality of the situation is this. You're not always going to go ahead and have the best looking deal immediately when you're trading a superstar like Kevin Durant. You're just not going to do it. But those 4 first-round picks, 2 of them at a minimum, I think could be really valuable. At 2027, those 2029 picks, those could be something down the line, man. Who knows how Phoenix is going to look at that point in time. So I would take that as the W. Obviously, you know, you get Bridges. You go ahead, you get Jay Crowder, you trade him, you get TJ Warren, you get Cam Johnson. So I mean, these are pieces that are rotational pieces. These aren't star pieces that you're going to build around for the future, but you're not trying to win right now. I think that becomes abundantly clear. So if I had to give grades to both teams on this deal, I think I'd give the Suns an A. I think I'd give the Nets like a B, B+. That's just my gut reaction, but without a doubt, one of the craziest trades we've actually ever seen at a deadline. Let's talk about the second biggest trade of the 2023 NBA trade deadline. This was actually the trade that kicked everything off. Kyrie Irving requested a trade. I don't really think anybody saw it coming. That trade was fulfilled as he was sent over to the Dallas Mavericks. He was sent there with Markieff Morris. In return, the Brooklyn Nets got Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, 2029 first-round pick, and 2 second-round picks. Now, to be honest with you, when I saw Kyrie requested a trade, I thought it was wraps. I immediately thought he was going to be a Laker because that's where everything seems to be going. I mean, it seems like he wants to be in Los Angeles. I just assumed we were going to skip the whole part where he signs with them in the offseason and they just trade him there. But no, Brooklyn wasn't wanting to do that. So they went ahead and sent him to Dallas. And ultimately, for half a year, Kyrie Irving, I don't hate that trade return. Now, we all know the Nets aren't going to be competing. Maybe some of us thought for a little while they would be if they didn't trade KD ultimately after that. But this return for the Nets isn't great. It's not terrible. I'd give it a B-. I mean, that first-round pick in 2029 could end up being really good, but who knows? If Luka's there in 2029, it probably won't be that great. So this is probably the best you were going to get for half a season of Kyrie Irving. I will be really interested to see what ends up happening with him this offseason. I think if him and Luka actually end up playing really well together and they maybe go all the way to a Western Conference semifinals, maybe even the Western Conference finals like the Mavericks were in last year, I could see him staying, but I could also see a world where he just wants to go play with LeBron and AD. So whatever it may be, that's a really fun trade. It really did kind of kick everything off, accelerate everything. Let's keep going. Now, I think we all know the Los Angeles Lakers were an extremely active team at this deadline. We're going to get into my thoughts about their teams and their trades as a whole in just a minute. But what I want to do is I kind of want to talk about their really big trade they ended up making on February 8th. Let's just talk about it. I'll read it to you. The Lakers are finalizing a deal to land Minnesota's D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt in a trade including Mike Conley and picks to the Timberwolves and Russell Westbrook and a lightly protected 2027 LA first-round pick to the Utah Jazz. When I saw this, I actually didn't believe it was real. I don't know how we kind of went from Russell Westbrook being a huge negative asset, which, don't get me wrong, Russell Westbrook at $47 or whatever $1 million that he's making is a negative asset for how he's actually been playing. But to be able to land D'Lo, Beasley, and Vanderbilt, for that, I get it's a 3-team trade, is just absolutely insane to me. So great job, Rob Pelinka. I mean, that is just a masterclass at being a general manager on a basketball team. But that is a great trade for the Lakers. Obviously, we're going to touch on some of their other moves they made as well, but that surprised the hell out of me. This deal, I think, kind of makes sense a little bit for Minnesota. I really don't think that D'Angelo Russell was going to be a long-term option there. I'll be interested to see how Mike Conley plays again with Rudy Gobert. Obviously, they were teammates out in Utah. That Minnesota situation is an interesting one to me. And, as it comes to the Utah Jazz in this deal, Danny Ainge got away with a first-round draft pick. That's all I really wanted. And congrats. I guess you're building for 5-10 years down the line. But great deal overall for the Lakers. It's just, that was a surprise to me, to say the least. The next trade I want to discuss is one that got swept under the rug a little bit, and one that we really didn't get to talk too much about because it happened right around the same time that Kevin Durant got traded, and that being the Toronto Raptors going ahead and acquiring Jakob Poeltl from the San Antonio Spurs. They sent Birch, 2 second-round picks, and a 2024 first-round pick. It had some light protections on it. Now, this was an interesting one for me because I think myself and a lot of other people, a couple days before the deadline, assumed that the Toronto Raptors would be selling. Now, did their plans change when the Nets went ahead and traded Kyrie and KD? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that trade was kind of boom, boom, the KD one and the Poeltl one. Do the Raptors really think that they have a shot in, an Eastern Conference? It is a little bit weaker than it was a couple days ago, but you still got, the Celtics, the Bucks, the 76ers. I mean, this is still a really good East. Can you really compete with those teams? I don't know, but they made the move. I believe Poeltl's an expiring contract. I really wanted my Celtics to get him, but ultimately, I guess Brad Stevens wasn't willing to pay that price. But I like this move a lot for the Toronto Raptors, especially if he ends up resigning there. Ultimately, he has played there before. We all know that. But, it's an interesting move. I think the Raptors kind of come away pretty good on this one, and I'm excited to watch them the rest of the season and see if they can actually compete in a pretty good East. So I realize I could sit here and go through every single 21-plus trades that were made and grade them all or whatever. It doesn't really feel that fun. What I actually want to do is something you really don't think I would probably do at a deadline talk video. Is talk about the teams that really didn't do shit that I think a lot of people thought would be really, really active during the trade deadline. Now, we just touched on the Toronto Raptors a little bit. Now, they didn't do a ton. They got Jakob Poeltl. I thought for sure OG Anunoby would be wearing a different uniform moving forward. I thought possibly Pascal Siakam. I thought possibly Fred VanVleet, and they didn't do anything with any one of those guys. So I think the Raptors are kind of in purgatory land, similar to the next team I want to talk about in the Chicago Bulls, who literally did not do anything. I don't really know what to expect with the Chicago Bulls moving forward. I mean, I know there were talks kind of close to the deadline, like an hour before. The Bulls were in conversations with the Knicks to possibly look to a trade for Zach LaVine or something like that. But for me, I just don't know what the hell the Bulls are doing right now. They don't even have their first-round pick this upcoming season, so I guess you have no reason to tank. But for the love of God and for the life of me, I can't figure out what their game plan is moving forward. I just can't, because I hate to be that guy to say it, but I think a lot of people know this. DeMar, LaVine, Vucevic, if Lonzo Ball ever comes back, isn't winning you a championship. We all know that. So if I were in charge of the Bulls, I definitely would have made a couple trades. I know that's a lot easier said than done, but I really do feel like they're just sitting in the middle of nowhere land, probably not going either really good or really bad anytime soon, which is not a really good thing to do. And then the final team that I want to talk about that I thought for sure would be making at least one major trade at the deadline. They didn't make a trade. I'll give them some credit, I guess. Would be the Miami Heat, a team that, is always always interested in literally everybody. I mean, I don't know if there's like a star player on this planet that there's not an edit of in a Miami Heat uniform scrolling on Twitter right now. I mean, there just might not be. I don't know. So for me to see Miami not really do anything, they moved Dwayne Dedmon to the Spurs, but I don't know. I thought for sure Kyle Lowry would be gone at least. That one surprised me. That was a really, surprising thing. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Kyle Lowry has just been fucking terrible. I mean, I don't know why he's still in a Heat uniform, but I think that team definitely needs help. The Heat were obviously a team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Their roster really didn't turn over too much. Ultimately lost P.J. Tucker to the Philadelphia 76ers, but other than that, their roster didn't change a ton. And let's be honest, I don't think anybody on the planet right now thinks that team's going back to an Eastern Conference Finals anytime soon. So for me, I was super surprised to see the Miami Heat kind of stand pat. I will say I think they're going to be a huge team in the buyout market. We're going to talk about that in just a second. So I'm sure I have a lot of people sitting here right now watching this video saying, why have you not talked about the Lakers more? They ultimately probably won the deadline in a lot of people's opinions. And we're going to get to them in just a second. But what I want to touch on just for a moment is the other team in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Clippers, who were extremely active at this deadline. And to be honest with you, I like the moves they made, and I like them a lot. Now, I'm just going to read you the players in and the players that came out. Players in: Eric Gordon, Bones Highland, and Mason Plumlee. Players out: John Wall, Luke Kennard, and Reggie Jackson. I can go over. I have the 3 trades sitting in front of me. Clippers are acquiring Bones Highland for 2 second-round picks, 2024 and 2025. I mean, that feels like just a slam dunk trade in my opinion. Clippers will acquire Eric Gordon and 3 second-round picks in a 3-team trade with the Grizzlies and Rockets. Grizzlies land 3-point sniper Luke Kennard. The Rockets will receive John Wall and Danny Green. And then the Clippers acquire Mason Plumlee from the Hornets in exchange for Reggie Jackson. So that's a really good trade deadline for the Clippers, in my opinion. I like the Bones Highland pickup a lot. I really do. The point guard spot on that Clippers team has always felt a little bit iffy to me. You bring in a guy like Bones Highland. I'm really excited to see how he kind of fits with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Who knows? Maybe Russell Westbrook ends up on that Clippers team as well. It really feels like it was a good deadline for the Clippers, who are still, without a doubt, one of the better teams in this Western Conference. So we're not writing the Clippers out yet by any means whatsoever. I just want to talk about some of the moves they made at the deadline because I really do think that they did really well in all 3 of those trades. So really good job, LA Clippers. Let's talk about the biggest winners and the biggest losers of this deadline. So it kind of feels very obvious who my 2 biggest winners from the 2023 NBA trade deadline are. I think a lot of people will probably agree with them. One being the Phoenix Suns. You obviously go out and acquire Kevin Durant, a first ballot Hall of Famer, a top 5-6 player in the NBA, whatever you want to label him as, and you immediately put yourself in way better title contention than what you had before. Now, were the Suns in title contention before? Probably. Were you actually going to win it? Probably not. Now you add Kevin Durant. I think you take 1, 2, 3 steps up that ladder. I think they have like the 2nd or 3rd best betting odds to win the finals now. I mean, this team did a complete 180. I think the entire look at how people looked at that Suns team has completely changed now. It's obviously hoping that Kevin Durant can come back immediately after the All-Star break. Just ball the hell out. You obviously have Devin Booker, who just returned last night. You have Chris Paul, hoping he can get a little bit better. And you have a really good center in DeAndre Ayton, man. So if that team can be active on the buyout market as well, I think you've overall just hit an absolute grand slam at the trade deadline. There's no other way to say that. The bench definitely needs a little bit of work. So as I mentioned, hopefully the buyout market's a good spot for them, but really good job by the Phoenix Suns at this year's deadline. My second biggest winner at this deadline, without a doubt, has to be the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't really think there's a way you can look at what Rob Pelinka has done with that team and really say anything else. I mean, the Lakers, I'm looking at it right now, are currently 25-30. They're a 13 seed in the West, 5-5 over their last 10. This team had to have a home run deadline, and they did it, in my opinion. I'm just going to read you off their new roster right now. Obviously, LeBron and AD as their 1-2 punch. They now have D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Mo Bamba, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, and then obviously you got guys that were kind of here before with Lonnie Walker, Dennis Schroeder. They had a Devon Reed. You got Reeves here, Gabriel here, Troy Brown, and Max Christie. I mean, that is a team that is really good. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to be a team that's going to be in the Western Conference Finals, but they sure as hell have a lot better chance of actually making some sort of a run now than they did 48 hours ago. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy to me the things that Rob Pelinka pulled off at this deadline. I think the Lakers are a completely new look team. I am very, 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 very happy. I tweeted this out the other night. For Lakers fans, they got Russell Westbrook the hell out of that place. My God, was that just an absolute nightmare. I mean, I still remember where I was. Literally, I remember sitting in my room when I got the notification that the Lakers had traded for Russ, and I was like, holy shit, like this is insane. Like, this is over. Like, Lakers are going back to the finals, and Russ fell off a goddamn cliff. Now, were they using him right? I don't know. Do they have the best head coach in the world in Darvin Ham? Probably not. But this is a team now that, on paper, really looks like they can make a deep run. I'll be excited to see if they can maybe do it. Maybe give a challenge to some of those top teams up there in a first or second round matchup, whether it's the Nuggets or the Mavericks or the Suns or the Grizzlies, whatever it may be. It's going to be a super fun team to watch. I'm really, really impressed with what they did at the deadline. And finally, let's talk about the buyout market a little bit. I have 5 guys listed here who I think are really good candidates to be in the buyout market, and 5 guys that I really think will be bought out. It makes absolutely no sense for them to continue with these teams. We'll just start at the top, and probably most obvious one, Russell Westbrook. He is not going to be a member of the Utah Jazz for very long. I think my top 2 places I'd like to see him are, one, the Miami Heat, who did absolutely nothing at the deadline, as I kind of mentioned. I mean, I don't know what the hell Pat Riley's doing over there in Miami, but they didn't do anything. And I think bringing in Russ would be interesting. Now, I don't know how that offense looks when you have Russell Westbrook and Jimmy Butler. And, yeah, I don't know. I just don't like that shooting and Bam Adebayo. I just don't like that. I really, really don't. But I think they could probably make it work. And ultimately, at this point, I think it would be a really good idea to go out and try to get him. So I would like to see Russ sign with the Heat. I could also see him, as I mentioned this before when I was talking about them, I could see him being a Los Angeles Clipper. Him and Paul George have obviously played together before in Oklahoma City. It'd be really cool to see him on that team, whether he's facilitating that first or second unit. I think it'd be really good kind of see him maybe get another chance in a big market like Los Angeles. So that's my first buyout candidate. I don't think anybody thinks Russell Westbrook's going to be a member of the Jazz organization for too long. But ultimately, I hope he lands on his feet, and I hope he gets another chance. I think he has a lot of good basketball left in him. The second player that I think would be a great buyout candidate would be Patrick Beverley of the Orlando Magic. Now, I don't know what the right way to phrase this is. And I never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I honestly feel bad for Patrick Beverley. I really do. Obviously, he was traded at the deadline from Obama, from the Orlando Magic. Lakers went ahead, got themselves a backup big man. They went ahead and they traded Thomas Bryant to the Nuggets at the deadline, so they needed a new backup big man. They got that in Mo Bamba, and ultimately Patrick Beverley was a casualty of that trade. Now, Patrick Beverley is not going to be in Orlando. I think we all know that. Orlando is not a team that is trying to win anytime soon. Patrick Beverley sure as hell does not want to sit through a rebuild. And for me, I think a really interesting spot that Patrick Beverley could maybe land, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go back to Minnesota. I think that could be a really, really cool spot for him, playing maybe behind Mike Conley, new addition there in Minnesota, whatever it may be. But it's interesting because I don't know what Patrick Beverley's market looks like. He's obviously a good defensive piece, but it's Patrick Beverley. I don't know. So it'll be interesting, but I felt bad. I mean, I saw the tweet last night when he sent it out of him and D'Lo. It was like whatever the hell it said, but it was just a picture of them together, and I was like, oh, good God, man, I feel terrible. But yeah, Pat Beverley's not sticking in Orlando. I think we all know that. So I'll be excited to see where he ends up. Potentially one of the funnier moves at the deadline here for number 3. John Wall is back in Houston after he has been torching them, publicly torching them for the past month, whatever the hell it's been. I mean, why on I would be willing to bet money that John Wall does not even get on a plane to go to Houston to sign that buyout or whatever the hell it may be. But just absolutely insane. Second time John Wall is going to get bought out by the Houston Rockets. Number 4 on my list is Danny Green, a guy who I assume is also going to be bought out by the Houston Rockets, who are obviously one of the worst teams in the league there, probably tanking for Victor Wembanyama. But it's just funny to think, man, John Wall back in Houston for probably 24 hours at the most, but just hilarious move. I don't really know what his market is. I think Miami could take a look at him if they don't end up landing Russ. I don't really know where else. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything. And then Danny Green, I don't know. I mean, it's Danny Green. I don't know. I mean, if you want a shooter, I guess at this point in time, go get him. But I don't know what his market's going to look like either. I'm sure some team will pick him up to put him at the bottom of their bench. But 2 really interesting guys right there. That was a really interesting 3-team trade because, yeah, the Rockets got Eric Gordon off their books, but they just traded for 2 players they're going to buy out anyways. So weird move all around, but should be interesting to see where those 2 end up. And for this final player that I want to talk about here, Shams has actually already reported it that the buyout's going to happen, but it's Reggie Jackson to the Charlotte Hornets. And like actually thinking about this now, that Reggie Jackson was traded for Mason Plumlee, and the Hornets are going to buy out Reggie Jackson, so they literally just traded Mason Plumlee for nothing. Like I don't think there was a pick involved in that deal at all, which is hilarious. But you know what? Embrace the tank. I give you credit, Charlotte. A team that I think would be a good fit for him. I see a lot of people talking about this as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see him end up in Denver. It's a good veteran guard. I think could really help that team a lot. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty big buyout market for Reggie Jackson. I like him a lot now. Is he going to come in and really be a huge game changer on any team? No, but nobody on the buyout market is going to be a crazy game changer on any team. So I'm really excited to see where Reggie Jackson ends up as well. I know I've said that about basically everybody at this point, but this was an absolutely crazy trade deadline day. And my, oh my, man, I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm just going through all these right now, these trades, just seeing if I missed anything else huge and talk about. I think it was really hilarious to watch Jay Crowder get traded for 5 first-round picks. Wow, 5 second-round picks. I mean, you literally can't even do that in 2K. Like, just scrolling through this, like, yeah, I've basically touched on all that. Oh, Gary Payton going back to Golden State, another 5 second-round pick trade. Really like that move a lot. Kind of for both sides, honestly. Free Damian Lillard, by the way. I'm just spewing bullshit now at this point. Yeah, James Wiseman, new Detroit Piston. I think that was much needed for Wiseman. I do not think he's actually going to grow as a player on a team like the Warriors, who are obviously kind of all in on winning right now. I think they maybe waited a little too long to trade him, but nonetheless, happy to see him get a new opportunity. I like the pickup of Jalen McDaniels for the 76ers. Muscala for the Celtics is interesting. But, man, nonetheless, what a crazy deadline. I mean, 21-plus trades, whatever the hell it was. I haven't seen something like this in a long time. And I had a really fun time tracking this thing. And, yeah, hopefully I don't sound like ass in this video because I am sick right now. So if I sound like shit, I'm sorry. So that's going to wrap up our talk surrounding the NBA trade deadline and all those crazy moves that have happened. If you guys want to stick around, because I will talk about probably a couple minutes just what me posting a video ultimately means right now in the future, feel free to stick around. If you do not care about that and you just cared about me talking about the picks, or excuse me, the trades, thanks for watching. So obviously I have not posted a video in quite some time. My last video that was uploaded, I said I needed to take a break because of my new job. And I need to figure out a good schedule. And watching me post a video, you were probably saying, hey, are you back? And the answer is, I don't know. If I, am back, it's not going to be 5 videos a week. I can promise you that. And I don't know if they're going to be rebuilds. I might do a couple rebuilds with, KD and Kyrie on their new teams because I think it'd be fun. But, I stand by what I said. I don't enjoy rebuilds, really. So, I'll do them if you want to see them for, those two. But they're definitely not going to be every single video. I do really enjoy kind of just sitting here and talking about the NBA. Now, we obviously don't get a trade deadline every single day, so we're going to have to find new things to talk about. But in a league where there's always drama and there's always craziness going on, I don't think that'll be too hard. So if it ultimately ends up that the videos I make, say I'm posting, twice a week ultimately, I think I can swing that. And even if, we do one NBA talk and we maybe do one rebuild every couple weeks, whatever it may be, that's cool with me. So let me know what you guys think about that. Ultimately, oh shit, I dropped my pen. I have not posted a video in a long time, so if I sounded rusty in this one, it's my bad. Hopefully it'll get a little bit better. But I actually enjoyed sitting down here and kind of shooting the shit and giving you my thoughts the entirety of the NBA trade deadline. So let me know down below in the comment section. One, your thoughts on this crazy-ass deadline, and if I missed any big trades, I didn't talk about them, I'm sorry. It's been a long day. And then, yeah, let me know anything else down below in the comment section in terms of, what I just said about, the future of these videos. I didn't think I'd be making a video today, but I saw the craziness of this deadline, and I said, hey, man, I got to do it. I really do. So let me know all that down below in the comment section. This will probably be the final video for this week. If I'm going to do a couple rebuilds, it might be next week, but we'll see how that goes. Other than that, thank you guys all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And, yeah, that wraps up this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the deadline. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.